Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. So with that in mind, let's jump right in to this week's episode of Becoming Something.
What's up, podcast world? It's your boy JP in the podcast studio with Nate.
What's up, JP?
And what's your name again?
Someone asked on Friday Q&A, hey, do you know all the residents' names? So now, do you know this resident's name?
Why did they ask that?
I don't know. It was really interesting.
Monica asked someone if I was a resident.
Oh my gosh. Just throwing Monica straight under the bus.
Wow, sweetie, I'm so sorry.
But then she was like, I'm so excited you're on staff. So it was really sweet that I found out.
All right, I know you're new to the game, but I feel like you're going to need that mic closer.
That's true, yeah.
I feel like.
Okay, so what is your name for the people?
Tori.
Okay, so we brought you on because we're getting you a boyfriend.
Yes, today is the
That's why we brought you on.
Be So Bachelorette episode. So tell us about you.
Yeah, what do you like to do for fun?
Tori, how old are you?
I'm 27.
27. And what do you like?
The Lord.
Like long walks on the beach.
The Lord, that's so lame. Man.
Oh gosh.
We got you to know this is what we were going to talk about.
I thought you told her this.
This is arranged marriage round 2. People forget the arranged marriage, man. They're going strong.
That it worked.
Yeah.
I would have lost.
Because you can always a year into marriage. That's when to celebrate that it worked.
I would have lost the
They're
bet
doing
that
awesome.
they actually would have gotten married. And every single year at Be So Live.
So how much? So what's the bet with Tori?
If we can find her someone on this?
Yeah.
On this.
Okay, so if we can get her a boyfriend by February.
Yeah. So this is like audio only. How do we feel? Like is Tori's best asset her voice? Because so many people are going to be judging you right now based on your voice.
So do I say more or say less? I don't know. I don't want to
say more.
Ruin my chances.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are some of your best qualities? Do you have so many?
This feels like a bad idea.
Yeah.
That you love the Lord. That's your best quality.
Yeah.
And the nose ring. And I feel like the face tattoo
Kathy
works.
has one too. Oh my God.
For most people, face tattoos
that
don't
one
work.
was a risk,
but
I'm
you
glad
you pull it off.
Glad it landed.
Oh, that's amazing. Gosh.
How much would we have to pay? How much would we have to raise today for you to get a face tattoo?
I kid you not. You could not. Well,
okay.
I was going to say you couldn't pay me any amount of money to get a tattoo anywhere. But,
no, that's crazy.
But
There's no way that's true about you.
But
Nate.
no, I'm talking across your forehead. You've got to get.
It would have to be enough for me to never have to work again.
What does he say? What did you say?
What?
What did you just say?
I wouldn't get a tattoo anywhere for no amount of money.
That's
no,
not true.
That
you know
last
that's a
part.
lie.
It would have to be enough to what?
Oh, for me to never work again. I mean, it would have to be like.
Okay, how much is that?
Okay.
So you get paid right now. You get paid $7.50 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
$7.50. So let me multiply.
I think it would have to be $10 million.
No way.
Okay, so
if someone offered you $1 million, you'd say no.
Yes.
Okay.
For a face, I totally would say no.
I'm saying no for $1 million.
Yeah.
For face tattoo specifically?
Yeah. Face tattoo.
Not anywhere. You would say anywhere.
$10 million is for a face tattoo or any tattoo?
Yeah, for a face tattoo.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't do it for.
Okay. Face tattoo, cross your forehead. You would do it for $10 million?
Yeah. And it would say Jesus loves you.
Dude, that's rough.
I mean, 10 million.
Did y'all see that girl on TikTok who pretended to get a face tattoo?
No.
So I used this illustration way back in the day. I say back in the day, years ago at the porch. There was a young woman who met a guy, like one night stand kind of situation, and within a week of dating, got and she was by all accounts beautiful, like a model, and she got his name Ruslan tattooed across her face in Old English.
Are you serious?
Big letters. R.
How long
U,
were they dating?
Like forehead to chin. Across her, for a
Why?
week. They've been dating for a week.
People do crazy things.
Dude, it's out
and you
there.
met this person?
No, I used it as an illustration because it was like new. And then there was a young woman recently who pretended to get a face tattoo, and basically everybody like told her she was crazy, and she was like, "Y'all, you guys get wedding rings, I get a tattoo." And there was she was joking,
Wow.
pulled everybody off sides.
Man.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, hey, I just want to tell people that they can be like Tori. She's on staff though, but we do.
Not a resident.
Why do you believe in the Harris Creek residency?
Oh,
Why
that
do
was
we
the
do
longest. You were going to say that earlier, I bet.
Yeah, I was trying to get there.
Oh,
I
and
forgot
we're
talking
raising
about that.
raising pastors, and so like, man, I'm a proponent. I'm a fan of seminary. I know you went to seminary, and
it
Tori, did you
clearly
go to
worked.
seminary?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that should have come up in the interview.
We talked about a lot.
But we have a residency program where you come in here and it's kind of on the job training, and there's one day that's in the classroom, and then time that you are assigned to a ministry and you serve on that team for 10 months. And the hope is if you do a great job, then you get hired on by a church. And so, but you can only apply in the month of, in January. So if you're listening to this after January, look forward to next year. But if you catch this in January, jump on with us.
Yeah, you go to harriscreek.org/residency. You can actually sign up last week of December as well. So if you're listening, go check it out.
It's super cool because like one of the residents then is like, as you come on, you're Nate's boss, and so you get to like tell him what to do, and it's fun. I mean, like I feel like they did a great job last year with you. It was a big year of growth.
It was. They did a great job.
It's a big year of growth.
Oh my gosh.
I love it, man. I love it.
Hey, so we are releasing this.
So we're taking applications for residencies. We're taking applications for Tori's husband.
Where are we taking applications for that?
Application.
Is it her DMs?
No.
Yeah. Just slide in. You basically slide into her DMs, and it's going to be amazing.
Oh my god.
Or just like send cash in an envelope to Harris Creek.
You can text
and
Nate's
me.
whoever
face
sends
tattoo.
the most cash.
You can text me 254-274-3131. Well,
Man, I wonder what that number was.
yeah, that's my number.
Interesting. I wonder what that was. Man, the other day, one of the residents was like,
I
"Man,
was just thinking about what I should say.
it meant the world." JP sent me like a happy birthday text, and then she saw you and she's like, "Thanks for the text." And you're like, "What?"
No, I wasn't.
it
That's
was-
not true.
It was like an automated system or
It's
something.
not automated. People think it's automated. It's not.
Well, she
But then she
responded
did say
to it.
that you did text.
It's not automated.
You texted her happy birthday?
Yes. It's not automated. Every single morning I wake up and text everybody happy birthday. And if you want to know all of the things,
Oh, we should tell her.
if I'm like in meetings, Hannah does it.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yes.
She
I was
thought it
like,
was
I was
automated.
like, oh, that's
It's
really
not.
interesting.
It's not automated. People always say that. I know this is automated. I'm like, dude. And then I feel like I have to respond. It's not automated.
Wow.
Yeah.
She was thinking it was automated, but you had the capability to respond to it because she had texted back, "Thank you."
No,
Then after she saw you,
He just has one of the
It's-
residents send out all
it's
the
not.
happy birthdays.
It's not automated.
oh, that's awesome.
Like the only thing that's automated is somebody texts books. It'll auto just the word books, BOOKS. It'll auto respond with like 5 recommendations. I can do an auto respond like for a launch team or something. Happy birthday is not automated.
Yeah.
wow.
it's-
How
me
come
or
whenever
Hannah.
I text you, you say, "Please delete my number"? Is that
Yeah.
automated?
It's the
No,
stop
that's
in all
not
caps.
automated. That's all. Yeah.
Unsubscribe.
You're
when you
unsubscribed.
text me, I'm always like STOP. Why doesn't this work? Why
Yeah,
doesn't
man.
this work?
Take me off your
Stop.
list.
Text me, and it's usually because you're like, hey, so man, I really am enjoying Plexus, and I think that you'd be a great ambassador. I love Amway.
Actually, no. The other day, man, I'm having to sign up for stuff because you're sending me stuff in my email,
What
man.
was it?
Factor, which I'm actually pretty excited about.
Dude, I was hooking you up with $140 off.
I know. I got a week free of meals.
Dude, Factor, y'all
So-
need to, hey, you guys need to pay. We do no sponsors, but I feel like we should do sponsors. I
Okay,
think
great.
we should do one ad a week that like we talk about, and it's like something we believe in. And I would
Yeah.
be open to Factor paying us for that because I am an enormous fan.
So Adley was asking, like, are they frozen? I feel like you've
we
posted
shouldn't talk
this
about it
about
long,
before.
but it's
okay,
no,
great.
it's amazing. I'll tell you offline. It's
Okay,
incredible.
Anyway, I'm excited about
We
it.
shouldn't talk about it long without them paying us to do so.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just beep out their name.
Speaking of paying,
Speaking
I
of-
feel like we're like the husband will go to the highest bidder.
A dowry system.
It's biblical. We're going back to the dowry, man. We're bringing that back.
One time,
But
though,
instead of going to your dad, it goes to your church
And then we can
or
get our
your pastor.
and then we can get our second private jet, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
oh,
I feel like that first one,
Our
we probably
second
shouldn't have done the gold toilet.
You don't think so?
No. I feel like that was not a good use of money.
Okay, so this is coming out during the holiday season. I don't want to say Christmas because I don't want to offend anyone. So this is the holiday season. And what are some typical hang-ups?
You're going to get, he is joking. I'm telling you, he is joking. And we are saying Christmas, Christmas, in fact, Christ Jesus Mas.
You're going to be that bold to say Christmas?
Yeah, I'm that bold.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's go. And I'm not picking a fight with anybody either. I'm just telling you, I'm celebrating Christmas.
All I know is you don't go to Starbucks because they changed the
You know
cups.
that's not like pagan to say Xmas. That actually is rooted in the first century church, which Weston said the other day. He's like something Xmas, and I was like, huh.
said it out loud in a sentence.
Yeah, how do I feel about that?
Oh,
Anyways,
Man.
this is the longest intro.
Hey,
we're gonna
this
get.
is the really
we're
long
gonna
intro.
get.
Tori just
flagged.
I think
ruined
I
it.
forgot.
You
I
messed
think I
up.
forgot what we were talking
You
about.
messed
Okay, so we're
up.
talking
You,
about
like, really-
hang-ups during the holiday season, the Christmas season. You go home, and that can mean a lot of different things. So there's a lot of things that we can address.
Yeah, like some of you, this is a great. You're listening to this, and it's an amazing reprieve. 'Cause
Totally.
you got your Aunt Martha in the other room. She's
Totally.
already pinched your cheeks and giving you a kiss, and
And
you
said,
got
"Why
the
are you
Jello
single?"
mold,
Yeah.
and asked you why you're single and when you're going to get married, and how's your job going, and when are you really going to do something with your life. And you're back home, and you got all the old temptations, and so you want to call your old friends, and there's just something about walking into that room where you revert back to 16. And all of the temptations, where the pornography mags are, the pay-per-view on the TV, all the, where the liquor cabinet is, and just all the temptations of being home, your brother's stash, in his sock drawer or whatever that is. And so, yeah, we want to help you with that.
Just all of his socks
What?
in his sock drawer. Anyway.
many
Let's start with the first thing you mentioned. Dealing with difficult people in your family. Like you go home and it's like, man, that aunt, that uncle.
Well, I think one of the most
My
difficult.
brother.
I think one of the most difficult things is when like God's working in your life and you go back home, and you just see how pagan they are, and you're like, man, these like my family's going to hell, and I'm supposed to be here full of joy, and I am so burdened by the fact that by the language they use, by the things they talk about, just the fact that they don't worship my God, they think I'm crazy, and so. Here's what you must do with a heart to evangelize your family, meaning to share the gospel with your family. Show them change before you tell them. And so if you're talking to the server at the Waffle House that you're going to have one interaction with, share the gospel boldly. Like, be clear, share the gospel. Don't worry about, but I don't have a relationship. With your family, you have the luxury of a relationship. They know you. When you go home, do the dishes, make your bed, take the dog on a walk, vacuum the floors, like make everybody go, wow, what got into you? So that you can say, the Holy Spirit. And let me tell you how that happened. And like Jesus changed my life, and make that an attractive message for them and share the gospel. But do share the gospel. I'm not saying just resort to the relational aspect of it. I mean, I'm really grateful. My dad and I had a conversation one time where I was just like, you guys know this. I love the 1 to 10 questions, where I was just like, hey, Dad, I've been wrestling with these questions, and someone asked them to me once, and I want to ask you between 1 and 10, 10 being certain, 1 being not so sure. If you were to die today, how certain are you that you would go to heaven? And as we talked through that, he gave me a number. It wasn't a 10. And I said, if you stood before God and he said, why should I let you in? What would you say? And we just got to talk about the clarity of Jesus and the gospel, that Jesus did the work for us, that we can be a 10. And at his funeral, I was so thankful that we had that conversation and got to talk about it thereafter. And it is hard, it is awkward, but these times of holidays are great opportunities to share the gospel, but show them the gospel before you share the gospel with them.
Man, those questions are such a gift because, one, they either bring clarity on they just bring clarity on where they're at.
Yeah.
I asked both my parents that one time, and they both said 10. And
Yeah.
it's just like, man, that's one of those things where
Yeah.
at their funeral someday, it's like, yeah, no question.
Speaking of your parents, shout out Miss Hilgenkamp. Thank you for the card. And it's just a joy to get to do this with your son. I mean, it is a lot of work, I'll be honest, but we do enjoy it.
Is she still paying you to keep me around?
Yeah, she's just like, yeah, absolutely.
Just since $5 bills.
Yeah, man, I got a card from your mom. How great is that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
To your
Did you
house.
get one?
No.
Okay,
To your house.
Kathy got one.
Correct?
I think it came to the church.
Okay, good. That makes me feel a little bit better.
All right.
Anyway.
Why?
He's giving
I
it
don't know.
around
I'm
us.
like, why does my mom know where you live?
I'm okay with it. Like, I feel like I don't feel threatened by that.
You typically don't let people
Your mom
around your
seems
house.
like good people, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up there in Minnesota, man.
Yeah. Speaking of tattoos, whoa.
I was just talking to Ann Daly.
That's got to
yesterday.
be, hey, guys. I don't
Not-
know.
It's
Wait,
not on
what
my
is-
face. It's not
Tori,
on
what's
my
your
face.
tattoo?
It says "All is grace." It's on my ankle.
All is grace.
Do y'all know? Well, you for sure know. who
Feels
Ann
like bad
Voskamp
theology
is.
to me.
Oh, okay. Can I explain it?
Sure.
Then you tell me if it's bad theology.
Okay.
And then maybe I'll argue. But it like I read this book by Ann Voskamp called 1,000 Gifts,
Yeah.
and she uses the phrase in that book. And essentially, the book is about gratitude, obviously in longer form. It's a whole book. But she talks about how obviously the good things that we receive are easy to receive as grace, easy to see God's goodness through those
Yeah.
things, and hard seasons in life or hard circumstances.
Yeah.
We can choose to be grateful for those seasons and see them as grace because they're opportunities. Not that the thing is easy, but that we can see them as opportunities to draw into the heart of God. And
Yeah.
so we can see it as God's grace towards us that we are going like in a hard season
Yeah.
to draw through him. So I feel like it's been encouraging.
Yeah, I feel like that's really relevant to a message a few weeks ago at Harris Creek about Joseph.
Yeah.
And so just this idea that, his family betrayed him. So as we're talking about the holidays, if you go in with the mindset of, God, what are you doing here? It is easier to endure those rogue siblings. It is easier to endure, some of those challenging conversations with your parents. But for some of you, it's super hard because it's like, you're in the room now with somebody who really hurt you. I mean, the scars that you
right,
have
right.
were caused by somebody in the room. And so it just kind of puts this other really complex layer over the holidays. And I would just make sure that your people back home, like your life group, small group, home group, community group, that they're praying for you, that because you are entering into a spiritual war. There's some strongholds there, and don't revert back.
I feel like you've mentioned that word strongholds recently a couple times. Like, do you believe that there are strongholds, like, let's say in your bedroom, like you go home and it's like, man, you just feel you've been free from pornography for the last few months, and it's like you go home and it just feels like there's this like stronghold there pulling you back. Like, is that a real thing? And what do you do about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. For some, I mean, it depends on what you've been into. I
Yeah.
mean, if you were ever dealt with the occult, or if you've invited the enemy into those things, or you engaged as a non-believer in things that were sinful, I think absolutely there can be geographic strongholds. You see that in the Gerasian demoniac, the demons, the legion. They say, "Don't send us from this place. Like, we want to stay in this place." And so, and I, in moving to Waco, that was really the motivation for writing a book on spiritual warfare. That I'll turn in a few weeks, because I sense there's some real geographic strongholds here. But I think about like Galatians 5 is a good conversation to drive here. The acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissension, factions, and envy, drunkenness, orgies, or the like. I warn you, as I did, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. And so for some of you, as you go back to that old address or that old town, that old city, where you went to high school, with those friends that you engaged in sexual immorality with, those friends that you got drunk with, those friends that you got high with, those friends that, or maybe it is jealousy. Like, maybe this is back to the guy who stole your heart and now he's married to your old friend that you were, played volleyball with or whatever. It's like, man, that's who you were. Like, that's not who you are anymore. And he says, but the fruit of the Spirit, and this is what you want to show your family. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance or patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. And so as you go there, understand, he goes on to say that Jesus, that the passions and the lusts of the flesh, the sinful nature of the flesh, has been crucified with Christ. It's no longer you who lives, but Christ who lives in you. So suit up, man. Put on the armor of God, Ephesians 6, as you walk into that house, and be ready to show your family as you sit down at the table love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. Not the old nature, not the old ways.
But why is it so hard at home? Like I feel like it's easier to be patient with the server at the restaurant than to be patient with your mom.
I think like the nostalgia. It's just easy to revert back to who you were.
Yeah.
And your mom probably is not going to help because she's still who she is.
Yeah.
And so if you were the baby, she still tends to treat you like the baby, right? If you know, all of those old sin patterns in her life are still going to be there, depending on, you know, the nature of that relationship and the struggles that are there. For some of you, right, it's the privilege that you're stepping into that is challenging. It's like, man, this is super comfortable. Home is comfortable. I can sleep in. They let me sleep in. There's always food in the pantry. You know, I don't have to work hard here. And it's going to be really, really challenging, very challenging to get a quiet time there, to prioritize time with Jesus there because it's so comfortable, it's so posh. And so everyone listening now, there's somewhere in that end of the spectrum. Your home is incredibly dysfunctional. There's addiction there. There's hurt there. There's abuse there. There's history there. And so that's you. And for others of you, your home is incredibly comfortable. And so there, it's really hard to put on the mindset that, hey, I'm at war and I need to prioritize the things of eternity.
Yeah. Yeah. Tori, what advice would you give to someone who, let's say they're even at home right now and they've already like had a frustration with their sister or fallen into sin? Like what can they do right now?
Yeah, that's good. I even had a moment yesterday. I was thinking about this. I saw my dad and my brother and was just thinking, even this morning, like praying about being home for Christmas for a couple days next week, and how for me it's not necessarily when I go back home that there's like a specific like pornography or alcohol. Like that's not really my struggle when I'm in that setting, or things like that, like different temptations. It's more like pride, I think, of like I just tend to think like, man, I know better. I know how you should be living your life. And then I'm going to say something. And I'm like, that's just not like loving or kind. And I wouldn't do that with a friend or people that I'm in community with here, or would just be more thoughtful even of like how I'm communicating that. And with my family, it's way easier for me to not be thoughtful. And if it's like, man, I'm on the defense sometimes because of like hurt just in being in family with someone. I think I'm just less thoughtful with my words. And so was even this morning thinking about what does that look like for me next week when I go home? And I think it is like being proactive in pulling my community into like, hey, this is what I'm like praying through and wrestling with as I think about going home. One, would y'all be praying for me as I am in that setting, that I would just be loving and humble like with my family, that I would like see myself rightly in relationship to God. And so that I'm not going in with this like, man, I've got it all figured out, because I don't. And I like am around people in my day-to-day here that I feel like it's easier to remember I don't have it all figured out. But then when I look at myself in comparison to like decisions that other people in my family have made, I think I can be filled with a pride a lot more easily. And so I'm like, man, that is just like, I need to, one, confess that, like, as I'm thinking that to my community. And even if they're not there physically with me, like texting my life group or texting my close friends here to tell them. And then also just being intentional about making sure I have, like, time with the Lord and don't just, like, forsake those habits because I'm at home. And so, like, when I'm here, I do that in the morning, first thing when I get up. And so if I'm at home, I, like, want to still, or at my parents' house, like want to make sure I still have that habit. And then it's even like texting people that morning of like, hey, going into today, just like, would y'all be praying for me for this thing? And then one thing that I feel like it was probably like a sermon or a podcast from a couple years ago, but just talking about like serving really intentionally at home. And so I think there's like a spiritual discipline aspect of preparing for home. And then there's also like an active, what are you doing like with your time while you're at home, like really practically. And so if I go in like I would when I was in like high school or middle school and exist in my family the same way that I always have, then I'm like doing my own thing, and not really intentional about the people around me. But if I want to like display Jesus to them while I'm there, then I also want to look for ways to serve really proactively. So whether it's like doing the dishes or like cleaning up or offering to go run to the store or whatever the thing is, but
Yep.
just being someone that's serving.
Yeah, I think that's so key.
Would you, JP, would you ever ask for forgiveness for something that you did? Let's say you were in college and you had a season of just like disrespect to your mom back then. Like, would you
Yeah.
ever, even if it's been a couple of years?
I think it just pays away for like that conversation. I mean, those, that's like such a beautiful thing when somebody comes up to you and they're just like, they address something you don't even remember,
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I know you don't even, or they don't say that. They're just like carrying the weight of it. And they're like, I'm so sorry for when I was mean to you in this way. Will you please forgive me? And the enemy's going to try to prevent you from doing that, because as God calls us to be ministers of reconciliation, Satan loves division. And so the demonic realm, they love division. They rejoice and delight in division. And so when you're going to ask someone forgiveness, when you're going to say, will you please forgive me for, they're going to make that feel really difficult. And the vast majority of the time, you're going to see tremendous fruit on the other side of that. And it's a great battle for pride. Like if pride is your ditch, I mean, you're putting to death pride when you humble yourself before someone and you own everything you can. You say, hey, I just remember in the 8th grade when I did this and I did this, and I'm sure that made you feel, and I'm really sorry. Will you please forgive me for doing something that would make you feel that way? And you do that. I mean, it's just like,
what is the difficulty in that? Because as you say that, it's like, man, I don't want to do that. I feel like I'd get nervous, but I'm like, I don't know. What am I actually nervous for?
It's demonic. I mean, the enemy, he really wants to create division.
Because
And he hates reconciliation, because the gospel is the greatest picture of reconciliation. So in the spiritual realm, they're doing everything they can to try to prevent you.
someone did that with me the other day and brought up something that I didn't even necessarily, hadn't been thinking of.
Yeah.
And I left that conversation feeling so close to him.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I love this guy so much more.
Yeah. It's a truly humble thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great act of humility to do that.
Yeah. So if there's division in your family with you and your brother, you and your sister, we always talk about own your 2%.
Yeah.
Even if they're the ones who cause most of the conflict, don't necessarily go in saying, hey, you need to change, but hey, here's what I've done.
You know what some people are feeling today that we haven't addressed, that it kind of will feel silly, but it doesn't feel silly to them that are sitting in it, is just like missed expectations.
Yeah.
Some of that's
dude.
like even like what you wanted for Christmas. Like, let's
Yeah.
be honest. You're like, man, I was really hoping to get this and I didn't. And I don't, that might be money, that might be an article of clothing or some specific gift. And you're sitting right now driving down the road just like, wow, like how did they not get the hint? Or why didn't that happen this year? And, that I think, to go back to what you were saying and even reflecting on Joseph, just like as we depend on God in those moments where we're disappointed and we respond to it with, hey, God is going to do something good here. Like he's got a greater good. He is God. I'm not. He's at work in my missed expectations. Sometimes you get to see something really beautiful as he works that out.
Yeah. Or like you just built up home in your head. You're so excited to go home for Christmas. And then you go home and your parents are arguing. And it's just like, that feels like a huge, when you built it up and you're like, I can't wait for Christmas. Can't wait to go home. And then when it's just not
chaos,
great.
dysfunction, or they're drunk. That's the
Totally.
other thing. It's like,
Yeah.
if you drive hours and hours or get a flight and you get off and it's just like, man, what in the world? I think it's a lot of times it's just like, do you not like love me enough to just have your act together when I come here so few times,
Yeah.
And some of that's pride too, even in our righteousness and what we perceive as their unrighteousness. We're responding unrighteously in a prideful way of just thinking more about ourselves rather than serving those around us.
Yeah. How can you turn the switch in your brain to be like, I'm going to serve rather than be served? I think most people go home and it's like, man, serve me. I'm king. I'm queen.
It's good. I think reflecting on the gospel helps. In Mark 10:45, I mean, there's just this conversation with Jesus and the disciples where they're like, they're just like, hey, we're about to rule over Rome, right? Like that's what's going to happen. Is you're going to set us free. And he goes, those who are regarded as rulers over the Gentiles lord their authority over other people, and they're like, yes. And he's like, not so with you. Whoever wants to be great among you must be the servant. Whoever wants to be first must be last. Whoever wants to be the greatest must be last. And he goes, and then Mark 10:45, for the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as ransom for many. And so there's this aspect that baked into the gospel as we have that Holy Spirit who produces inner lives, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control, is as we live out the gospel, it looks like serving others. Leadership in the church, leadership amongst Christians is always starts as service. And serving others.
What if you get done with being with your family and you have served, you've taken out the trash, you've done dishes, you've cleaned up after other people, and no one noticed? Like no one was like, man, Nate, you like, thanks so much.
Great is your reward in heaven, man. Praise God, because it's like God saw it, and you got something waiting for you in eternity forever and ever and ever and ever. And so when you don't get noticed, it's like you got to flip that on its head and be like, oh man, that's even better. Yeah. Because now double my rewards, and just think about it like that.
Yeah.
That's like, if your goal is, if you're even reflecting on the past few days or week and you're like, man, no one noticed how good I was at loving them and serving them and cleaning up after them, then that even is an opportunity to be like, wow, like, Lord, forgive me for my pride in that. Like, man, my motivation wasn't actually really to serve. It was for them to know that I was serving.
For sure.
And I feel like even that is just a, like, pride check and opportunity to remember our own sinfulness and like, oh yeah, Jesus, you died for me in that too. Yeah. And so it's like God gets to do something in you.
Yep.
And that also.
We're recording this a couple days before Christmas. I just can't wait to figure out what you got me.
I know.
I'm like,
I can tell you right now if you want.
Do I want to know?
It's up to you.
Okay, okay, you can tell me.
I can tell you what I got you.
He said fine, you can tell me.
Is it, tell me.
Unemployment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've been paying toward it, and I feel like it's finally time for you to cash in.
Oh, that'd be so sad.
Yeah.
That would be sad.
Look, dude, I got you those shoes you're wearing.
That's true.
We're wearing the same shoes. If you're watching on YouTube, and Tori's not wearing them.
Look.
But Tori and I are wearing the same
we are.
shirt.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
That's what's up.
Man. Someone asked me the other day.
Shout out Uncertified.
What I would do if I wasn't in ministry. And I was like, I have
don't know.
I don't have any discernible skills.
MC
he was like,
Baylor.
there's nothing else I can do.
Yeah, right. I'm not even sure I can do this. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Dude, you are the co-host of the 15th greatest podcast in the world.
Well, I would say first greatest. Listens aren't everything. I'm like, I think we're the best.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Your mom is listening, so
there we go. That's all that matters.
She's one of the three.
Yeah. Gosh.
I love it. All right, guys. That's fun. That's a wrap. Merry Christmas, by the way. We should have said that up front. It's Merry Christmas. Oh, yeah. Happy Jesus' birthday.
Send in your donations. Have them postmarked by January 1st.
I think you did say Happy Holidays. Actually, up front. Happy New Year.
And when are we announcing Tori's boyfriend?
I don't know. We have to.
After your
so far, I've got no text.
Okay,
so,
it's like, well, it's going well, you guys.
Oh my gosh, man!
I bet you all the dudes are like, "Oh, I got to go see this one on YouTube."
Yeah, right.
Which is sad.
You guys are creeps.
Which is sad.
Yeah,
real face tattoo.
Gosh.
All right, guys. Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. To find out more, visit becomingsomething.com.